Good evening and welcome to the Township of Chatham Township Committee meeting for Thursday, October 11th, 2018. Greg, has adequate notice been given?
Yes, adequate notice of this meeting of the Township Committee was given as required by the Open Public Meetings Act as follows. Notice was given to both the Chatham Courier and the Morris County Daily Record on January 5th, 2018. Notice was posted on the bulletin board in the main hallway of the municipal building on January 5th, 2018, and notice was filed with the Township Clerk on January 5th, 2018.
Thank you. Would you please stand for the flag salute? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Salin?
Here.
Mr. Kelly?
Here.
Mr. Sullivan? Deputy Mayor Schwartz?
Here.
Mayor Ritter?
Here, and I think it should be noted that Kevin is at the Great Swamp Wildlife Association event this evening, representing the committee. So
It's
thank
their
you.
annual gala.
The annual gala. So thank you, Kevin, for doing as such. Do we have a motion to approve the agenda? Any questions on the agenda? All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Our first item up for business is our proclamation. We're going to invite Sid Gupta to come up and say a few words, and then I'll read the proclamation. Yes, sir, please.
Thank you to the committee for allowing me to speak today. My name is Sid Gupta. I'm here with my wife, Christine Chang, and our sons, Jackson and Harrison. Christine and I actually moved to Chatham almost exactly 5 years ago today. We moved here because I was born and raised in Berkeley Heights, and my family is still there. And we also moved because we were expecting our first baby. We wanted to raise our family in the hills of Morris County. 38 weeks into our up to then very normal and very healthy pregnancy, Christine went into labor. Right on schedule, full term. But when we got to Overlook, they could find no heartbeat. Christine still had to deliver our baby, just as if the baby had been living. And when the baby came out, we found out that we had a girl, 5 pounds, 14 ounces. We were devastated. We named her Madison after Madison Square Park, the neighborhood we lived in for the first half of our pregnancy in New York City, and after Madison, the town that we live close to here where we still live. We went back to our house that was supposed to be full of the cries of a newborn, but instead were empty and silent, except for a crib, baby toys, and baby clothes. That first year was horrible. Christine likes to say that she would wake up drowning in the grief as if a 500-pound weight was crushing her. I think it was closer to 500 tons, and that ignores the ball of molten lava in our chests. But with the help of our family, our friends, our neighbors who hardly knew us because we had just moved here, but who had held us in our hearts and helped us endure, and with the support of other grieving, lost parents, we eventually emerged. That's why we're here today. First, to shatter the stigma around pregnancy loss. We were so far along that we couldn't have hidden if we wanted to. But too often, families that have a loss are forced to grieve by themselves without the support of their community. When a family loses a parent, a grandparent, a sibling, or a significant other, we all rally around them. But with pregnancy loss, too often they are forced to grieve by themselves. No parent should have to witness or experience the loss of their child. But if they do, we can all rally around them much more than we do right now. Second, we are here to increase awareness around this issue. Believe it or not, stillbirth is actually a very common thing. 1 in 160 pregnancies in the US end in stillbirth. That's more than 70 pregnancies a day. Enough babies to fill a school bus every day. But there are things that we can do to reduce the incidence of stillbirth through public health awareness. Things like counting kicks during the third trimester, things like having expecting moms fall asleep on their sides. Thank you for honoring all the babies that are gone too soon due to miscarriage and stillbirth. And thank you for accepting our proclamation.
Well, thank you, Sid, and thank you, Christine, for the courage for coming out this tonight and bringing this to our attention. Sorry? Yes.
I'm a member of the same club. I know, and I'm sorry for your loss as well. It's amazing. It's about 25 years ago, and we still look back at Christy as our third child. And Christy didn't make it here. And I fully appreciate how the loss you feel stays with you. And I will say to all of you folks, when you see a mom who is expecting, you know, if you know in your heart that everything's wonderful, that it's great, it's a great, most fulfilling experience, but there are things that are going through your mind and in your hearts that nobody else can understand, unless, sadly, you've had the same experience. We were not to the point of going into labor, but it's amazing. I'm sure you know it brings you closer together as a couple, and you can't imagine life without one another. I feel this exact same way. So God bless, and you can clearly see that life goes on. Congratulations, and thanks so much for doing this. Thanks for bringing this to our attention, because there are more of us, I think, than people know. That's great.
You want to read it?
I'm honored to do this. Whereas each year, approximately 26,000 families in the United States are told that their unborn baby has died before birth, and many of these stillbirths are preventable. Whereas experts have referred to stillbirth as the most understudied issue in medicine today. Whereas stillbirth rates in the United States have been flat for decades, and adequate research, education, and awareness could lead to a reduction. Whereas pregnancy and infant loss is such a common occurrence, but one that is usually not discussed. Whereas many Chatham Township parents and families have suffered a miscarriage, stillbirth, or the death of an infant during delivery or shortly after birth. Whereas such a terrible loss is often not recognized. Whereas Chatham Township wishes to acknowledge the profound grief experienced by families who suffer the death of a small child, infant, or preterm baby. Whereas when a baby dies, whether in the womb or after birth, its life deserves to be recognized. Whereas even the shortest lives are still valuable, and the grief of those who mourn the loss of these lives should not be trivialized. Whereas Chatham Township wishes to acknowledge the existence of babies and infants that died far too early. Whereas this devastating tragedy often occurs suddenly, without warning, as the result of a miscarriage, stillbirth, sudden infant death syndrome, called SIDS, accident, or other cause or complication. Whereas the tragedy of pregnancy and infancy loss, which exacts a terrible emotional toll, may be preventable in some instances. Whereas increased awareness of the causes and impacts surrounding pregnancy and infant losses may lead to a greater understanding, support, and resources in communities across Chatham Township. Whereas a day of remembrance honors the lives of children taken far too soon and supports grieving parents, grandparents, siblings, and other family members whose lives are forever altered by the heartbreak of losing a child. Whereas those parents and families require support and understanding during their time of grief. Whereas promoting awareness of the challenges faced by those parents and families is a positive means of establishing support and understanding. Whereas in 1988, President Reagan proclaimed October as Pregnancy and Infant Loss Awareness Month. Whereas recognizing Pregnancy and Infant Loss Awareness Day would enable the people of Chatham Township to consider how, as individuals and communities, they can meet the need of bereaved mothers, fathers, and family members and work to prevent the causes of these deaths. Whereas, on the 15th day, 10th month of every year, people around the world will light a candle at 7 p.m. in a wave of light to remember all babies gone too soon. Whereas the 15th day of October is recognized in parts of the United States and in many other jurisdictions around the world as a day of remembrance and awareness of pregnancy and infancy loss. Now, therefore, my mayor, Kurt Ritter, does hereby proclaim the 15th day of October to be Chatham Township Pregnancy and Infant Loss Awareness Day, and urge our citizens and all agencies and organizations to unite on that day in remembrance of babies gone all too soon, in support of all families grieving the death of their baby at any time during pregnancy or infancy, and in dedication to healthy pregnancy and the prevention of these tragedies. Thank you, Your Honor.
Christine said, if you want to come up. Our next item is much different, on a happier note as it were, and one that we're always pleased to recognize the work of our fine police officers. We formalized this officially, I guess, at the last meeting through vote of a resolution, kind of unceremonial and not very exciting per se. But today is the day that we're going to celebrate the advancement of Sergeant Christopher Slayton to the position of lieutenant, and he's joined here today with his family members, so we welcome you all here today, and we appreciate you coming out in this bad weather, as it were. But on behalf of the committee, obviously you should be extremely proud of Christopher and all that he's accomplished. We're grateful for his service and the service of all of his colleagues behind him and the police department here for what they do for our township and keeping us safe. So with that, for the record, I'll just read some of Chris's background in his career. Christopher Slayton started his career in Chatham Township as a police officer in 2003. After completion of the Morris County Police Academy, in 2009, Chris was assigned to the Morris County Prosecutor's Office Narcotics Unit and served as a task force officer for 6 months. While serving as a task force officer, Chris assisted the Morris County Prosecutor's Office in several large-scale drug investigations and raids throughout Morris County. In 2010, Chris was reassigned to the Chatham Township Police Department's Detective Bureau, where he was responsible for general investigations and was additionally tasked as being the department's juvenile officer. In 2013, Chris was promoted to the rank of sergeant. From 2013 to 2016, he was assigned as a patrol sergeant responsible for supervision of a patrol squad. In 2016, he was reassigned to the role of administrative sergeant. As administrative sergeant, Chris was responsible for the supervision of the Detective Bureau and other administrative duties, including assistance with the accreditation process. Throughout his career, he has received several awards and recognitions, including receiving the Academic Achievement Award in the Police Academy. This award is awarded to the recruit with the highest academic average throughout the academy. Very impressive. 2 life-saving awards, 2 honorable service awards, and the Chief's Award for Outstanding Investigative Performance. He holds a BA degree from Rowan University and has attended several leadership and supervision workshops, and training seminars. So that's just what the resume says. But again, I just will speak on behalf of the committee and then open up to the committee members as well, just to say that we're, again, very grateful for your service. We congratulate you on this honor. As I said in the past, one of the greatest honors you can have as mayor is swearing in police officers. It's even better when you can do the chief and certainly the lieutenant. So congratulations again. I look forward to swearing you in officially, so to speak. And we'll turn it over to my colleagues if they have anything else they want to say.
Congratulations, Lieutenant. It's great news to have you advance through the ranks. 2003 must seem like a lifetime ago. I'm sure for your family, it really does. We're so happy that you've chosen to make Chatham Township your home, as it is for us too. And we know you're so fully invested in the best interests of this community, as are we and the men who stand behind you. Lieutenant Miller Chief Miller set a great example for being a fine lieutenant in our community, and I know that you're going to follow in his great footsteps. So congratulations and thank you. Thank you to all of the fellas who are here tonight. Thanks.
Just add my congratulations and thank you to those who have already been given. Lieutenant's position is the second highest in the department, and congratulations on all the work that you've done to advance this level, and best wishes on really helping to lead and shape what's already a great police department, and we look forward to it even building on that in the future. So thank you.
I also want to echo my colleagues' comments, and I also would like to congratulate not only Chris, but his family. So I can tell by looking at their faces how proud they are, especially the mother, I can tell. So he's amazingly proud, and the kids are proud, and wife, and the father. It's great for Chatham, great for Chris, and great for his family, and great for Lieutenant Miller, Chief Miller now, and he has a great lieutenant now, so great. That's it.
Who wants to hold it? No. I'll do this.
Okay.
Yeah. I, Christopher Slayton,
I, Christopher Slayton,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey,
and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey,
and that I will bear true faith
and that I will bear true faith
and allegiance to the same
and allegiance to the same
and to the governments established in the United States
and to the governments established in the United States
and in this state
and in this state
under the authority of the people.
under the authority of the people.
I do further solemnly swear
I do further solemnly swear
that I will faithfully,
that I will faithfully,
impartially, and justly perform all the duties of the office of police lieutenant
all the duties of the office of police lieutenant
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Just do a quick picture with the committee, and then we can get all the guys who are suited up in their finest blues.
Congratulations, Lieutenant. It's awesome work. I'm Karen. Kristen, what a pleasure to meet you. Congratulations. What's your name? Good. Sam. Sam and Max, two of my favorite all-time names. That's great. Should we have this picture?
Of course, around back like that, cities, cities.
A little bit tighter again. One more. Very good. Now you can do what the
You want to say? How do you want us?
One more. Yeah, clear it up. All right, want to get over the other guys?
I'll go up there, where? Down here?
Hi, Mike. Hi, how are you doing?
Tell you like a tall guy for the
Put Brian in the front. All right, thanks for I can walk home from the meetings. The meetings is 7 miles away. So I'm driving down the village road, and my son sees it, like dives behind the shrubs. You okay here, ma'am?
You want to break the cake or you want to? Keep going. Chris, congrats again. I know the police officers are going back for some cake. Please save some. A slice or two. Since all I had today was a bag of Doritos.
I had an Atkins bar.
That's not bad. All right, we'll move on to reports. Typhoon.
I did my report.
All right, moving on.
Oh, I'm sorry. Didn't I do it?
No, you didn't.
Wait, I'm not even drunk. So why am I?
You're
Did I
done.
do it? I didn't do it. Did I?
Anything out of
I read it
the
3 times.
You read it over and
All
over.
right, I'm doing my report. All right, my report is DPW report. I'm just going to read to you guys what I have in my notes. And those are the activities that occurred in last 2 weeks. And we continued the LED changeover for the parking lot lights at Town Hall. Continued adding clay and sod to the baseball fields on Shumpike 1 and 2 fields, and grass cutting on recreation fields and township owned properties. And weekly soccer stripping at Upper and Lower Esternay, and skate park repairs happened as needed, and potholes repaired as needed, and trimming for trees, replacing basin heads on the roads that just got paved, and we continued the second round of road sweeping, and we do this, just for your information, we do this twice a year, and we did one recently, and clearing and cleaning township easements, and we continued the colony end of year breakdown and going over all the salt spreaders and plows ready. We're getting ready for the winter season, and we replaced broken or loose Belgian block. That's it, Your Honor.
Thank you much. Mike?
Thank you, Mayor. Just a quick comment on behalf of the Municipal Alliance, which I think all of you know is the volunteer group that deals with the misuse and abuse of alcohol and other substances. But they fully support some of the recent actions that we've done recently, the walk out of darkness and the item that's on the agenda tonight for the expanding of our smoking ordinance. And just to recognize their efforts. They regularly meet, and it's impressive the breadth of what they're doing behind the scenes to really educate youth, parents across the whole spectrum. And some of the underlying problems behind the misuse of different substances, the pressures and stress and loneliness and things like that can sometimes go unrecognized. They really do a good job. So we recognize it. That's it.
Great. Thank you, Mike. Karen?
Well, we've had a busy couple of weeks, actually. First of all, our Senior Center Board President would like to remind us yet once again, mark the day. The 20th is our shred event at Lafayette Avenue School. That's Saturday from 9 to noon. Jim Connolly also wants us all to know Oktoberfest at the Senior Center is Saturday. Forgive me, that's tomorrow, Friday. The event is being sponsored by TD Bank, a great supporter of the Chatham Senior Center. So if you think about it, attending Oktoberfest and have not RSVP'd, make sure you give a call to make sure that there's plenty of Wiener Schnitzel to go around. Let me see what else we have here. Chatham High School students will be coming to the Senior Center for one-on-ones for computer support. They will be coming to help out with smartphones, laptops, tablets. The next session is going to be Thursday the 18th, 3:15 to 4:15. So that's just a great initiative because there's nobody more computer savvy than a high school senior. And to have a chance to go over these things one-on-one with one of these great students is great. Chatham Township Volunteer Fire Department is hosting holiday shopping on November 16th. They're going to have a get-together. If you're interested, if you are a vendor, if you are a craftsman, if you'd like to participate in any way, go to events@ctfd.org. It's going to be a fun event of holiday shopping, and also if you do have an industry or a craft, or if you are a cottage business, that would be a great opportunity to be a vendor. This is Fire Prevention Week. As we know, the Green Village Fire Department kicked off Fire Prevention Week with an open house last week. The Chatham Township Volunteer Fire Department had the pleasure of hosting a couple of classes of Southern Boulevard kids at the River Road Firehouse, at the Southern Boulevard Firehouse, where the kids learned about the gear and the tools and the trucks and all the exciting stuff that goes along with one of our volunteer fire companies. From our Environmental Commission, we have been so proud to have been granted bronze level status by Sustainable New Jersey once again. It was a big effort on part of so many members of the Green Team Subcommittee of the Chatham Township Environmental Commission. So we will be accepting that award from Sustainable Jersey at the League of Municipalities coming up in November. We also had a great visit from Christy Tragno from our Department of Public Works, who is our recycling coordinator at our most recent Environmental Commission meeting. It was terrific. Christy went over a lot of the restrictions that sometimes go unheeded when it comes to recycling in our neighborhoods. As many of us know, the only plastic bags that are acceptable by our MUA are the clear plastic bags that hold your household shredded materials. So that shredder you have in your office can be disposed of into a clear plastic bag. Other than that, when I walk around town and I see recyclables out in plastic bags, it makes me cringe because it does do damage to the costly equipment that the MUA uses. Cardboard from the kitchen is great as long as there isn't still pizza in the pizza boxes and food and things like that. Contamination is a big problem. We do get reimbursed to a certain extent from the county when our recycling materials are not contaminated, but that means that you can't throw away the food in your pizza box or whatever left over in your aluminum containers. They are going also to be eliminating number 5s in plastic recycling in 2019. So make sure you take a look at those tiny little triangles under your plastic recyclables. So number 5s, I believe, will be off the list. Please make sure that when this comes in the mail, that you take a good, careful look at it for 2019. Also, the beloved red Solo cup, for those of you who don't know, is also not recyclable. So they sadly have to go into the garbage, the beloved red Solo cup. And that is that on the Environmental Commission. And we'll get back to one more thing we wanted to talk about. We met this evening also with Tri-Town 55 Plus Coalition, which is Chatham Township, Chatham Borough, and Madison Borough working together to build lifelong communities. As you'll recall, Tri-Town 55 Plus was the organization that put together senior ride share via GoGo Grandparent and subsidized rides. To this point, we have over 300 seniors in the Tri-Town registered and have provided more than almost 3,000 rides for the seniors in our community as connectivity continues to be one of their great focuses for our seniors. They are going to be looking forward to more ideas for making this a lifelong living community, Chatham Township, Chatham Borough, and Madison. So that's what I have there, and I know you wanted to talk a little bit more about recycling, Your Honor.
Sure.
We have actually continued to explore the idea of adding another recycling day to the calendar. The county, of course, is contracted with Chatham Township to come every other week. We do continue to receive some interest on adding another day, maybe another a weekly recycling kind of paradigm. We would have to go to a private carrier. So we continue to look for a private carrier who would find it worthwhile to come in and deal with the families who wish to subscribe to it. Once we can identify those particular entities, we will get more information out. It continues to be a work in progress because there does continue to be some interest. And of course, we want to try and accommodate folks who can have enough recycling material to put out every week. So that's what I got, Your Honor.
Thank you much, Karen. Just a couple of items. Our train shuttle survey concluded, as we may know, on the 4th. Trans options indicated we had over 850 people respond to that survey, so overwhelming response. We expect further analysis and details on the survey itself within the next month or so. As Mike alluded to, our Out of the Darkness walk was a success, we said last time, but I just might call out to Tom Salvis in the back here, who was on site videotaping the event, and that video now appears online in our video library on the website. So if you were not able to attend and you want to learn more about it, I encourage you to take a look at this video. It's a great video that Tom had compiled of the day's activities. Another information, we are relaunching the CERT program, which is the Community Emergency Response Team program. This is an opportunity for any resident to become involved in their community and help first responders in the case of emergencies. We were, during the winter storms of last year, we had realized it's a great opportunity. If we had a CERT program established, we had actually opened up or considered opening up the warming station over at Corpus Christi, and there was a need for someone to man the facility and other opportunities to use a CERT type volunteers for different things taking place during the winter storms themselves, so that our first responders could actually focus on doing what they do best, which is responding to emergencies. So I would encourage any resident who has an interest in getting involved in the community and learning more about this program. The press release is online, but we have the information session. And again, this is the information session. It's no commitment. I would encourage you to err on the side of caution and come out, spend an hour with us. Kevin Sullivan is our OEM director. He and John Weston, our deputy OEM director, are going to be leading a presentation giving more information in terms of what it requires to be part of the CERT program. It's, again, October 24th at 7 p.m. here in the Muni Building in this room, in fact. So encourage everyone who has an interest in getting involved to come on out. Another thing we released this morning, or last night I guess it was, Moody's Investor Services recently rated Chatham Township a AAA rating. This is a great achievement, I think. It speaks accolades to wonderful things that Tom Chiccarone as our administrator and Deb King as our CFO have done, as well as the committee, and just being sure and mindful of the way we spend our dollars. As we all know, 15 cents of the dollar approximately of your tax dollar goes to the muni budget. The majority of it goes to fund the school system. But that being said, I think the committee has done a tremendous job over the past several years being focused on fiscal prudence and such. So I think this is reflected in the AAA rating we received from Moody's. One other item, I know that Chief Miller stepped out with the other police officers, but he indicated that they have reviewed the traffic patterns over on Southern Boulevard and Fairmont. We know that there's been tremendous backup during certain rush hour periods, and we have actually are in the process of reviewing this and extending the period of the lights so that in fact it might help the flow of traffic. So we'll see what happens in the next couple of weeks as an analysis to this change in the light. So hopefully we'll remedy the congestion that seems to occur during rush hour on a regular basis. And then one final item to note, if anyone here in the audience or at home or is online, you will notice that on our agenda that tonight in our executive session, items 2 and 3 refer to items related to fair share housing, affordable housing, and such. If anyone is wants to take a look, they can look at our agenda for the past, 2 years, I would say, or so, give or take? At least 2 years. This has been a constant item on our agendas. And while we're not always privy to discuss publicly what is going on with this topic in the development of Dixie-Dale, I think all residents should be well aware that the committee has committed to this and is working hard in bringing a resolution to this. We do have a dedicated section on our website that speaks to the affordable housing program and what we're trying to accomplish. There's an FAQ, but I should just want to reiterate to everyone that even though on a regular basis we're not out there on a soapbox preaching about what's going on, that the work continues. It is hard work. Sometimes these executive sessions are actually longer than these public sessions. So the work is being done. Commend Albert Cruz, who's not here tonight, but Tom Chicarone and the committee and all the committee members for the work that's being done on this. And that's all I have to say. John?
Nothing major to report, Mayor.
Do we want to make, I guess we're talking about
Yes.
an executive session.
An executive session, yes. I think we should discuss that first before making any announcements and discussions on that.
Okay.
I have a couple of things, Mayor.
Great.
First, you'll recall a couple of years ago, we struck a deal with New Jersey American Water for the repaving of Lafayette when they put in a new water main there. Under the terms of their contract, they would have only been required to restore the trench. But because we were also planning some paving, we negotiated with New Jersey American Water, and we took over the paving so we could go curb to curb, and they paid us what they would have spent doing the repair on the trench. Using that as a model, we're doing the same thing on Lenape Trail. We had spoken to them at a pre-construction meeting back in the spring, I guess it was, and we now have an agreement with them to do the same thing. They're going to be sending us a check for $59,120. We will, when we receive that, we'll do an amendment to the budget to insert it so that we can then add that to our paving money and do a complete curb to curb on Lenape Trail instead of just a trench restoration. So I think that's a good thing, and we have a good working relationship with New Jersey American. Most of the time, this is a good indicator of the things that we can accomplish working together. I want to comment very briefly on recycling, because you should be aware that there are no profits being shared, at least not this year. The recycling, post-recycling market is just not there. I think most people are aware of that at this point. We actually received a significant bill from the county for a surcharge, because when there's a profit, we get to share in that, but when there's a loss, we get to share in the loss as well. And in the third quarter or second quarter, they got creamed. We've got a pretty significant bill. Not really quite sure how we're going to pay for that. We need to talk to the MUA about that as to whether we can stretch that over a couple of years. We obviously did not incorporate that into our budget, had no idea that was going to happen. So I just wanted to alert you to that. Recycling, it's been kind of a pet peeve of mine for a long time. Financially, it's a loser. I understand the environmental benefits and the feel-good element of it, but from an economic standpoint, it's a turkey. It's a
Tom,
loser.
will you enlighten us? The bill that they're sending us is because of the
they have-
lack of
There's no market to
revenue
that's
of
right. There's
the.
no market to resell the materials, and when that happens, they have to pay to get rid of them.
Right.
So we share in the cost of getting rid of the material that was collected and not marketable.
Great,
So
so
that
it's not
includes the stuff that you were talking about that's contaminated.
Contamination.
Right, all that stuff has to be disposed of. They don't get to just put it back on the curb.
Sure, and plastics being petroleum-based, obviously, there's a decline in prices of petroleum.
Well,
over
there's a
the
lot of things that
protracted
have gone on. The
past.
glass market, recycled glass market crashed several years ago. I've been preaching about that it's being ground up and used to cap landfills. But the markets with China have really tanked. They've stopped taking plastic. So I don't know where it's going now. But the whole situation with recycling is very much in flux and, is becoming probably a national policy issue that needs to be addressed in some fashion. But, in the meantime, we're going to continue to do what we're doing. It's up, your prerogative if you want to add more. I think the contract with the MUA probably is subject to being reopened. If we wanted to go to weekly next year, I think they would give us a
Oh,
price
I thought
to
we
do
were there
that.
for a couple more years.
Well, we have a couple more years as is, but I
Yes.
think if we wanted them to give us a proposal to expand on the service, I think they would give us a proposal. I
Right.
don't have any reason to think they wouldn't.
But at this point, it's a losing venture is what you're saying.
It is, yeah, it is. It's certainly just, globally, it costs more. When you think about the amount of effort that each household is going through to store the material, to separate it from the trash, to educate themselves and try to figure out, okay, does this go in the trash, does this go in recycling? It takes a lot of effort. And when the end result is that you did all of that and then you put it out at the curb and the MUA came and picked it up and we paid them to pick it up, and then it goes in the trash anyway, it kind of seems useless, does it not?
Well, the analysis, when we discussed the contract that we have now, the analysis to go to weekly recycling was a 50% increase in what we're paying to go to weekly.
Yeah.
And if our revenues are all of a sudden non-existent or reverse revenues, if you will, I mean, if we're paying them to take it away and then they're charging us additional, then
So
I
by
think
going to a weekly, we wind up paying more.
we'll end up paying more.
You might.
Yeah, 'cause
Whereas if people, as you know, we don't do trash,
Mm-hmm.
people fend for themselves. If they, if you did away with recycling, it wouldn't cost you anything. Homeowners would be paying for disposal of their own trash as they do now. So I don't want to go down that road. I don't think we need that kind of a radical approach to it. But it's a subject that I think bears additional thought before we rush into making changes that increase the
Right.
level of service.
And I think the original notion that we had all shared going back a couple of years was to see if by subscription there were enough Chatham Township residents who would be willing to take that leap and buy into a subscription service for recycling.
I think that there would be a great number of people that would be willing to participate if they believe that it really is accomplishing something. But if it's not really having a positive impact on the environment, then they're being sold a bill of goods. So that's all. And I don't mean to pontificate it, and I may very well be wrong, and there will probably be people get up at the microphone either tonight or at the next meeting to say how wrong I am.
Never happened before.
Well, they've tried.
They tried to say they were wrong, but they
And
were
then last,
mistaken.
on a lighter note, since Kevin's not here, I thought that I would step into his shoes and do Kevin's This Day in History lesson. So there's two things in looking through events that happened today that I thought Kevin might point out, and maybe not. One of which was that former President Jimmy Carter was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize back in 2002 for his work over the course of his life in working for peace and human rights and democracy and economic development around the world. So I thought it worth noting. The second one is that in 1984, Catherine D. Sullivan became the first American woman to walk in space as a member of the Space Shuttle Challenger. So I thought Kevin might be interested in that one.
No relation, perhaps, or is there a relation? We don't know.
I don't know. I didn't get to ask Kevin if there's a relation, but I nevertheless wanted to point that out.
Thank you, Professor. Rich, anything on your end? You're good? All right, we'll conclude with our reports and move to a hearing of citizens. This is an opportunity for any member of the public to be heard about issues which are not topics scheduled for public hearing tonight. To help facilitate an orderly meeting and to permit all to be heard, speakers are asked to limit their comments to 3 minutes. Okay, moving along. We have an introduction of an ordinance 2018-20, accepting conservation easement for 446 Green Village Road. Tom, do you want to speak to that?
I'm sorry, do I want to speak to what?
The first ordinance, the intro of the easement?
No, I really don't.
It's conservation.
Thank you.
No, Bill, come on.
Bill, could you want to just...
Property on Green Village Road, and as part of the approval process of the home.
Microphone.
Homes being demolished, their variances granted. One of the conditions of the approval was the granting of a conservation easement. There are significant wetlands on the property, and this is simply to accomplish that part of the resolution. They are going to place that portion of the property in conservation easement conveyed to the town to monitor it.
Great. Any questions? Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Selin?
Yes.
Mr. Kelly?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Schwartz?
Yes.
Mayor Ritter?
Yes.
Public hearing will be on October the 25th.
The next item up for discussion is the final adoption of ordinance 2018-19, an ordinance of the Township of Chatham, County of Morris, State of New Jersey, amending supplementing section 3-11.1 titled Smoking Prohibited of Chapter 3 titled Police Regulations. Chief is not here to discuss this, something we talked about at the last meeting. Oh, Chief is here. Chief, do you have anything to say? Okay.
On the smoking.
On the smoking, vaping ordinance, you want to comment on that at all, or? Okay, very good.
There we are.
There you have it. Basically, this is basically prohibiting smoking, vaping and smoking marijuana in public areas, should marijuana become legalized here in the state of New Jersey. Any discussion amongst ourselves? Nope. Open it up for, sorry, Mike?
Just that this defines smoking marijuana and vaping the same way we're defining tobacco, that doing those substances in playing fields and playgrounds and in the parking lots associated with the playing fields and playgrounds is off limits, just the way it is with tobacco, and it makes sense to me.
Great.
I'd just like to reiterate my comments from the last time when we actually brought this up. The idea that this is, I hope, as strident as we can get, because we were talking about the idea of marijuana, actually the intent of marijuana to create an altered state, whether for medical purposes or otherwise. So in order to insulate yourself from secondhand smoke of any sort, we want to make this as strident as possible. And, with due respect to the Compassionate Act regarding medical marijuana, we all understand that. But in order to protect people from secondhand smoke of any sort, I want to make sure this is as strident as possible, and Albert did assure us that it was.
Yep. And again, this is obviously just to reiterate our commitment to, my personal commitment, to do what we can to fight the governor's ill-conceived notion and idea that marijuana legalization in the state of New Jersey is a good idea, which I wholeheartedly think is not. We'll open it up for a public discussion. If anyone has any comments, they can come forward and speak. With that, have a motion to approve.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Selin?
Yes.
Mr. Kelly?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Schwartz?
Yes.
Mayor Ritter?
Yes. Moving on to the consent agenda. Greg, you want to read those off for us, please?
This evening we have Resolution 2018-169, payment of bills, 2018-170, approving meeting minutes, 2018-171, approving executive session minutes, 2018-172, releasing escrow balances, 2018-173, adopting a revised employee handbook, and 2018-174, sewer lien redemption.
Any discussion? Motion to approve?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Selin?
Yes.
Mr. Kelly?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Schwartz?
Yes.
Mayor Ritter?
Yes. Next item up here is a discussion item regarding the Shunpike corridor. People recall about a year ago? No? More than that?
Right.
It's been a while. All right, I'll turn it over to you, Karen, since you're the liaison with those folks, and
Right.
tell us.
Well, this was actually probably 2 years ago. We've been discussing it for quite some time. When we were on schedule for Morris County to come in and repave some of our county roads, specifically Shunpike and Green Village Road, we asked Morris County if we would have an opportunity to discuss the corridor that surrounds Hickory Tree Shopping Center, because this is really our only center of business here in Chatham Township. in order to make the commercial site perhaps more pedestrian friendly, more accommodating to the bicycle traffic, which is inevitable there, which exists whether we like it or not. We wanted the county to come and talk about how we might be able to reconfigure the striping, perhaps adding sidewalks, perhaps adding some sort of pedestrian oasis so that folks could cross from one shopping center to the other. And we went over these plans kind of at length. Chris Vitz and Deborah Del Giacomo came from Morris County's engineering departments and roads divisions to go over these plans with us. You know, John, I know you went over them at length, and Tom, and one objection that was raised was, will it actually be detrimental to commuter traffic? That people use Shunpike to get to Morristown, and there's really no two ways around it. If you're going to introduce a sidewalk, you're going to be reducing the side of the cartway. If you're going to introduce more pedestrian-friendly situations such as traffic lights and so on, you're going to be detracting from the automobile traffic. I know our friends from Green Village Fire Department were extremely concerned about whether there was going to be any sort of impediment to them getting through that intersection in the event of a community emergency. So, you know, at the end of the day, we decided we would have discussions on the matter. Kevin, with actual local knowledge, has brought to the equation the idea of people traveling this road to get to and from work. And we don't need to create any more of a traffic backup than it already is. So with all of that in mind, we have opened discussions with the county, maybe to go back to the drawing board to see, Tom, you know, we've been in communication with them, and to see where it stands with us, with our neighbors, with the folks who use these roads every day, with you know, being deferential to our circulation plan, with the intent of trying to make our major roads accommodating to all sorts of traffic, pedestrian traffic, cycling traffic, vehicular traffic, etc. So that's the origination of the conversation back when it was just going to be repaving, up until where we are now, where we're going to try and address the matter in other multi-pronged discussions.
Anyone in the committee have a comment or?
Yeah, I thank you for the report, Karen. It's good to have a refresher on that, because as you say, it's been a while.
Couple years.
I don't think any of us are looking to create a problem there, but trying to think back at the presentation as it was made to us on the Township Committee, it seemed as though there were some potentials for improvements as well. A more modern traffic signal would have some timing capabilities that could be taken advantage of to adjust properly to let the traffic flow and the best, you know, maybe even better than it can now. So I definitely would like to you know, see us move forward on that, and you know, hear back from the knowledgeable people about, you know, what parts of it can really be salvaged and expanded on or whatever, and, you know, made more beneficial, because, you know, as you said, there is going to be bicycle traffic through there, and certainly there's the car traffic, and there will be occasional pedestrian traffic, and I think we need to, I think, get the best advice we can on how to move them most safely and
Right.
and most easily. So I'd be looking forward to see some progress on that.
Part of the discussion, you know, kind of almost a sticky wicket, really is the intersection that goes from the Chatham Mall, which is the Ace Hardware, and Wine Country, or used to be Bottle King, or the Woodland Bakery, etc. From the Chatham Mall, that intersection, as you've got Shunpike going east and west, and then you've got Green Village Road coming into that intersection, and the idea of opening up a two-way entrance egress into the mall, because right now that's only coming out of the Chatham Mall. What that would do to the intersection, would it add an undesirable amount of vehicular traffic? And, you know, once again, that speaks to our Green Village Fire Department. If you now have a four-way intersection where only a three-way intersection exists now, would it be beneficial to the folks at Chatham Mall? Because now, you know, you don't have just one entrance. If you miss that entrance, you can get in there from the western end of the Chatham Mall also. We talked about the light itself. The actual traffic light, to me, is outdated or burned out or something. When the sun is shining in the wrong direction, you can't really see. If you're in the westbound lanes, you can't really see what that traffic light is doing. So I think regardless of where we stand on just repaving, restriping, et cetera, we have to address the integrity of that light. I think it's an old traffic light, and I don't think it's a safe traffic light.
I think the consensus is probably to have the group go back to the drawing board, as it were. Obviously, we want something done there, but obviously with the consideration of the fire department and others in the neighborhood to ensure that it's not to the extreme. So I don't know if anyone from the fire wants to come up and provide some commentary. And
Hello, Chief Mike Zales, Green Village Fire. I actually have here a letter that the previous chief, Matt Baer, had wrote. He was kind of privy to this as this was developing. I was originally going to read the whole letter, but you guys touched on a bunch of points. First off, technology is a little bit better, that there are some emergency style lights that we can use. I'm in full agreement with you, Karen, that, particularly westbound, you make that left, on that protected left, if that sun's there, the arrow just blinds you right out. Losing a traffic lane is a concern of ours with fire apparatus. Going from 4 lanes to 3 is going to not completely inhibit us, but it's going to make us more difficult to make that, particularly that hard eastbound right. The trucks could be anywhere from 35 to 50 feet long. They don't swing very easily. That may force a situation where we're dead forced into going into onbound traffic, unnecessary kind of situations. Of course, not just from a response side, but as a public safety side, we're all worried about pedestrian. That includes bicyclists and whatnot. But there are actually current signage within the ShopRite Center and the ACE Center, as you would call it, basically to not really walk across the road. There's posted signage there right now, so there has been some considerations, just basically take your car and move it kind of thing. But I would like to, without reading this, submit this letter to the council for you guys just to review. There's a couple other points just so that we're making sure that we are going over those and they're taken into consideration from a response side so that we can respond accordingly safely and not add to any kind of safety issues. On the flip side of that, I also wear 2 other hats within the town of Green Village. I am a resident and I am also a business owner on Green Village Road. Myself, I'm in receipt of 18-wheeler loads, basically coming down that road, just the same as ShopRite would be or other businesses that are on that road. It's also as we know, a county road, which it is a thoroughfare, up through parts of Chatham Township, Green Village, into Harding, and westbound and whatnot. So if there is some kind of traffic concern, it's not just coming into that area, that road, like, if your back is eastbound and you're making a left down Green Village Road, that truck still needs to do a 180 and get out. So if they got to do a hard right perpendicular turn, that swing is actually potentially more drastic than even a fire apparatus, which is an 18-wheeler is going to be close to 60 feet long, fully set up with a cab and whatnot. So those are other things that I would like to just take into consideration because there's not a lot of other ways to go, and it's a valuable piece of real estate that we're all working together with. So just some other things that we thought of during your consideration and what the county has to offer. So we appreciate your time and our consideration as it helps our ability to serve us and serve the town. So thank you.
thank you, Chief.
That's great, Chief. There's no more important concern than public safety.
Yeah,
so number 1, to make it a safe intersection, but number 2, to make sure that people who are out there protecting our homes and our property and our lives actually don't run into more trouble than is already there.
We don't want to create more victims.
Right. Well, you're welcome here anytime, and we're glad that you came.
Thanks
Seriously.
for your time.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Tom, I think that the county was looking for a letter from us saying we don't want to do anything, go ahead, but I don't think we're ready to write a letter to Morris County saying, go ahead. We still really want to have a few more discussions on it, right? Right.
Just, Tom, there was a cost share on that, so if we're talking capital, we should be including that.
About the traffic, the cost of the
Yeah,
light?
the cost, yeah, there is a cost share.
Yeah, there absolutely was the cost sharing involved, and we actually have a credit. The county still owes us money from a project that we did. Yeah, well, we were letting it ride because it was going to be applied as our share of this project. But since this project's on hold, so is receiving the money.
Can I write a note to MUA or check to MUA?
Check MUA, maybe we could get the MUA money.
Maybe we can just,
Fungible dollars, I
Right.
love fungible dollars.
make
But
it like a little shell game, right?
would we actually be able to get a replacement traffic signal? I guess that's a question we have to
Yeah,
ask.
you know, you're touching on another one of my pet peeves, and I didn't come here tonight in a bad mood, but I really didn't.
I didn't
But
intend to
think
get
about-
you there.
Think about this. These are county roads. Why are we responsible for the expense of the traffic signals? We shouldn't be. But that's something for you guys to take up with the freeholders. I don't have any juice with them. But that, you know, for the 18 years I've been here, that's bothered me. That they should be county responsibility. They're county roads.
Right.
But, so, anyway, but to answer the question, the funds that they still owe us from that other project, if you want to apply those to an upgrade of the traffic signal, I don't think the county would resist that.
Hi, Dan Miller, 465 Green Village Road, Volunteer Fire Department. And as Mike said, I'm going to talk from a few different hats. And I also was a 25-year road supervisor for Morris County and worked those roads extensively, along with living in town for 57 years. First off, that intersection, since it was reconfigured the last time, has worked quite well. You know, for those of you who have been around long enough to remember when it was a stop street coming out of the short piece of Shumpike and the right-of-way was to turn right off of Shumpike onto Green Village Road, it was a disaster. And there was lots of accidents. I had a friend nearly killed there many years ago. So it works well now. We don't have near the accidents that we used to have. As a truck driver, you know, both dump truck, snow removal, and fire truck, to change that in the fashion that I saw on the plans would be detrimental. You know, you're not going to be able to make the swings there. It's just not going to happen. And to have those, you know, in single lane fashion, if you want to bring in other departments, should there be a fire at the mall or something like that, and you have traffic, you know, middle of the day, and God forbid, rush hour, it's not going to happen. You're going to have a heck of a time, you know, getting your emergency apparatus in there. So, you know, that's one thing to look at with that. Also, construction time, living on Green Village Road, when you go to do the construction to do some of the things that I saw on the plans, it's going to be extensive, it's going to be a long time. And what are we as residents on Green Village Road supposed to endure? Because now there's not going to be any way to get trucks in and out of our commercial zone except to be going by our houses. Most of our houses are 25 to 35 feet off of the road on Green Village Road. Okay, it's not so wonderful at this point at 2 o'clock in the morning to have the trucks that go to ShopRite going by the house. You know, I can imagine what it would be like during construction. You also spoke about bicycle traffic, which is, as we know, a pet peeve of Dan Miller's and Carol Ann Miller's.
Chief Miller.
And Chief Miller too, I'm sure. One of the issues with that, you know, we all talk about sharing the road, right? We have all these things, share the road, share the road, share the road. It seems to work one way. It seems to work that the motorists are supposed to share the roads and bicyclists can do whatever they want to. I see those intersections. I don't see bicyclists obeying any of the traffic signals. They fly right through. I see many mornings, and I'm not saying that these are residents of our town. You know, these bicyclists come from all over the county to enjoy our neighborhood, which our signs are posted to enjoy it quietly. But, you know, you see bicyclists coming down there, 35 people, 45 people, 4 across, and they could care less whether you're riding behind them or not. That's one of the more major issues with our bicycle traffic than how they're going to get through the intersection. Obey the intersection, and maybe they do a little bit better. As far as what you were saying about exploring the issue further, I think one of the things you could do there is to, especially for emergency vehicles, or maybe even getting people into that other entrance for the Chatham Mall, because we have the out and we have the in. So to get them into the in is eliminate that middle island. Paint it, have it striped, maybe have a short left-hand turn going into there. And that would probably be more helpful than having that solid cement island that has so many signs sticking out of it. You know, those were some of the things that came to mind for me. But from a safety standpoint, that intersection is more safe than, in my opinion, than it ever was, and than many others in the township. I think the one down at the end of Shumpike at Lewanika is not the safest, and I also think you know, if you wanted to explore something, the blinking light at Lewanika and Spring Valley would be something to explore if you wanted to spend some of that extra money that's laying around. Thank you.
Thank you, Dan.
No such thing as extra money.
And just, does anyone have anything else they want to say on this? Yes, please come up.
Margie Kappa Salatro, Britton Road, Green Village. I missed the first time that you discussed this because I didn't know what the heck you were talking about with Shumpike Corridor. I figured it had to do with farther down. In reference to the block we're talking about, I think a lot of times, yes, we want pedestrians to be safe, but every time I've seen sidewalks go in, even when they were supposed to be for school kids to walk to and from or whatever, I see all the trees go down, I see the sidewalks go in, I don't ever see anybody on them. I go to my chiropractor by a certain way, and I never see them at that time when I'm there. I see the SUVs all lined up. My concern is that you should eliminate any kind of a middle ground. You should not have more sidewalks. They have 2 places to cross. That's fine. Yes, see the freeholders about that arrow that you can't see. And one of the things I think people don't think about is when you're going east on that block and you want to take a right on Southern Boulevard, those people just, there's like a big backup. So you can't go straight because you don't want to get in the left lane and get stuck behind somebody there. So maybe if that left lane on that block going east would have the arrow to turn left at the same time as the other people have the arrow to turn left, maybe that would be good. Because when I look at it, I say, okay, I want 3 lanes going east, 1 for those right-hand turn people, 1 so I can go straight and get out of there, and 1 to go left. Coming the other way, the people coming west into that block are going to be able to peel into the Chatham Mall and really not keep anybody behind them. Then when you get to the light there, you need, again, the left turn as we have it and the straight. And so my consideration is that people not forget that you're backed up behind the people trying to take a right on Southern Boulevard, and that we do not put medians or any more sidewalks. People just do not walk around here. That's just the way it is. And so for us to address that as a top thing is silly. So I think that's about all I wanted to say. Thank you.
All right, thank you,
Well, I
Margie.
will say that there was the plan, part of the grandiose plan was to make that left turn only, as you would say, head north into Madison towards that part of the golf course, from that Southern Boulevard / Shunpike intersection. So the entire plan wasn't bad. In fact, that was part of the plan. So I think, knowing that that is a viable consideration is great.
And in the middle of that block, it would indeed take switching from where the lanes were going. So you could have it, with those, not the speed bumps, leads. but with those little stripes that kind of rumble a little, you could have it that they'd have to go slowly there, and then it would be that as you got to the middle of it, people going west would get more lanes, but in the middle of it, the people going east would get more. You have to squeeze them all in there.
Right.
All right,
Great.
thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Anyone else? All right, well, I just want to thank everyone for offering your commentary tonight. I think it's a great example of those hearing from the community and you guys voicing your concerns and expressing your concerns and everything else. I think it's a great opportunity at all of our meetings that we host for our community members to come here and express their points of view, which we welcome. Obviously, you can always do that by emailing the committee as well. If you think about something after the fact, or if anyone's watching at home and has an idea, you can email the committee at committee@chathamtownship-nj.gov. So I guess we'll conclude this discussion with the idea that we will notify them back to the drawing board and see how soon they can turn things around and come back for a public presentation, at which point, again, we welcome all community members to attend the meeting and voice their concerns as well.
No, we have not. No, because we didn't really know. I think the next step will be to ask.
Come here, let's sit down and go.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you.
Very
Yeah,
good.
I think that's the best thing.
Subcommittee, you and Kevin, or whoever, I don't remember who was that.
I don't think Kevin, because I think his comments
Was it you,
came
Mike?
after the design was,
No.
it was you and me, for sure.
There you go.
I thought Kevin was planning.
Happy to do it.
All right. Michael, step in.
There you go.
Happy to.
Okay.
Great job.
The bike rider.
Very good. We now have a hearing of citizens. If anyone wants to come forward. Seeing no one come forward, we'll close the hearing of citizens. Greg, would you please read Executive Session Resolution 2018-P12?
Resolution 2018-P-12, resolution of the Township Committee of the Township of Chatham and the County of Morris, State of New Jersey, authorizing conference of the Township Committee with the public excluded. Whereas NJSA 10:4-12 of the Open Public Meetings Act permits the exclusion of the public from a meeting in certain circumstances, and whereas the Township Committee of the Township of Chatham is of the opinion that such circumstances presently exist, now therefore be it resolved by the Township Committee of the Township of Chatham, County of Morris, State of New Jersey as follows. 1, the public shall be excluded from discussion of the specified subject matter. 2, the general nature of the subject matter to be discussed is as follows. Potential litigation, East Park Builders, litigation in the matter of the Township of Chatham for a judgment of compliance of its third round housing element and fair share plan, docket number MRS-L-1659-15, litigation, Fair Share Housing Center versus Township of Chatham, docket number MRS-L-0000234-18. D, personnel. It is anticipated that the minutes on the subject matter of the executive session will be made public upon conclusion of the matter under discussion, and in any event, when appropriate, pursuant to NJSA 10:4-7 and 4-13. The committee will come back into regular session and may take further action. This resolution shall take effect immediately.
Thank you. The motion to approve?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second?
Mr. Selin?
Yes.
Mr. Kelly?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Swartz?
Yes.
Mayor Ritter?
Yes. All right, thank you.